Welcome to House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me is NFL staff writer for Sports Illustrated, Gilbert Manzano. Gilbert, we get to break down a matchup between the Lions and the Rams. Playoff football. We're here. Who would have thought? I mean, not at the beginning of the season. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Finally, the matchup we all wanted, we all been waiting for, a couple of days away. Matthew Stafford going back to Detroit should be a rocking Ford Field for this matchup, 3 against 6. The Los Angeles Rams. People are all of a sudden are paying attention to the Rams. They're like the trendy pick for the upset of the weekend. I don't know how Rams fans feel about that. People all of a sudden on the bandwagon, but hey, that's good. People are taking notice. We're gonna have a good game between the Lions and the Rams on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the one. It's either you're gonna pick if you're picking an upset, it's gonna be that 3-6 matchup. We've seen what that 3-6 matchup since the new playoff format, how well the 6 seed has done. So you got to pick one between the Rams and the Lions, or the Dolphins and the Chiefs, and this one is right there for the
I'm
taking
gonna be
for
a
the Rams.
Dolphin. I'll tell you that right now. Nobody's picking the Dolphins this weekend.
Yeah, especially when you're having to go to frigid Kansas City, where they're expecting it to be minus there with 20 mile per hour wind. So not a good thing for warm weather teams to be able to go outside. At least this one is inside, so that
Yeah.
that that helps out the Rams. And I just wanted to ask you, just in terms of the storylines, I know we've kind of seen a couple of changes here in terms of what the storylines. We thought this would be a big thing for Lions fans, but as it's turning out to be, that he's now Baltimore in Detroit, Gilbert, because it sounds like people are trying to ban Lions fans want his jersey banned from Ford Field on Sunday. And then it's weird because just a couple of years ago you had a company, I think it's called the D-Line Company, was selling Detroit Ram shirts in support of Matthew Stafford.
Oh
So all
yeah.
of a sudden now we have the unnamed quarterback, as he's being called, in Detroit this week. What are your thoughts on that?
I love it. I got no problem with it. He is going to be the rival. He's coming into your building. It's been 3 decades. You want to win a playoff game. Yeah, you're going to be emotional because it is Matthew Stafford. And like you mentioned, they were really supportive when the Rams won their Super Bowl. But now the Lions need to get a Super Bowl. They've never won a Super Bowl. I don't think they've even played in a Super Bowl. They don't win often. So I don't mind this. You know what? We don't care about you today. We're rivals. It's like when players support each other on different teams. They're like, yeah, I wish them the best of luck, just not today. So I do like that mindset because I'm sure a lot of fans are gonna have mixed emotions. Like, I I wouldn't mind if he gets booed like in the beginning when he walks out to the field. That's fine too. Like it's a playoff game. It's not like just a random game where the Lions are 0-7 in 2021 at SoFi Stadium where nobody cares about the Lions. This is a big time game. So you know how I am. I like the trash talking. I like the competitive side of people. So I got no issue with it. I know Kelly Stafford did not like it, but I'm okay with it. Just like it's like the bars doing. It's not like the actual team doing it. It's like fan bases and local bars, sports bars. That's okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand it. I mean, this was supposed to be, and then, just listening to people from Detroit, getting ready for this matchup today as we preview it, I understand that. Look, it's been over 30 years for the Lions since they hosted a playoff game. Last time they did it was back in '93, Gilbert. So I understand the storyline being taken away from them. Hey, this is, Detroit hasn't had this success, when it comes to football, and so now they get the attention, and now it's being drawn away by a guy who used to play there. So I totally understand where they're coming from and why he's, considered Baltimore for this week. But hey, in terms of the rest of the NFL, we're happy we're getting this matchup. So I can't complain about that. So let me fix something on here before we move on, Gilbert, because we forgot to do this. There we go.
Oh, yeah,
There
okay.
we go.
No different.
Um, yeah, we had a different background for Kirk Morrison. If you haven't checked out the Kirk Morrison interview, go ahead and do that because he gave us a bunch of nuggets there that we'll We'll play a couple of clips from it, but yeah, if you haven't checked that out, please do. Gilbert, what just let's take care of some business here before we get into the nitty gritty of breaking down this matchup. What can people check out on the Compas on the Beat network?
Yeah. We got a lot going on here on the Compass on the Beat network. As you know, we're trying to build the brand here, and I got this cool thing here now that it's kind of my eye vision, but I like it
I
so
like
far.
it.
We got the logo right there on the right corner. But if you haven't subscribed to Compass on the Beat YouTube, that is our main channel. Please support that way too. And we also love to see the subscribers going up here on House of Horns. You mentioned the video, the Kirk Morrison video. Vic, if you haven't seen it, check out the full version on House of Horns. We also posted it on Compas on the Beat. It should be out later today. But we're gonna cut up a couple clips here for the show and share what Kurt Morrison had to say in snippets because he had a lot to say and it was some good stuff. I got smarter listening to that guy, former linebacker for the Raiders, played 8 years in the NFL, and now does radio for the Rams, ESPN LA affiliate. The pregame, postgame, and halftime show, Kurt Morrison. But check out everything we do at Compas on the Beat. Uh, we also have What's Up Bolts. That's more of our Chargers channel, but I know people here with the Rams don't really care. But if you do, check out the What's Up Bolts for all your Charger information. And then eventually, when we get some time, we'll build up Compas, Combat Compas, our combat sports channel. But a lot going on here, and then some programming alert. If you want to, hear us chime in about the entire NFL Wild Card Weekend. It's not Super Wild Card Weekend. It's regular Wild Card Weekend to me. It's not super, but it's a good weekend and a good slate. We'll break it down on Compas on the Beat. Also here on House of Horns, the both channels will be together. Live, we'll be live streaming. Myself and Victor on probably like around 6 p.m. same time
Yep.
Thursday. But today is all about the Rams versus the Detroit Lions. We're gonna break it down right now. But also, if you want to support the network, you can, if you're watching live right now, feel free to do a super sticker, a super like, a super whatever. But no pressure on how much you want to donate to the channel. And also, yeah, don't be shy. Drop a comment if you have like a question or a takeaway or just something on your mind about this matchup. Put it in the chat. We'll get to it eventually. So we'll just get to the comments in a bit. And then, yeah, also, if you want to get some merchandise, a Compas on the Beat hoodie or a hat or a shirt, there's a link, certifiedcompas.shop, or check out the link in the description. We also have a PayPal link for donations because we're trying to get to the Super Bowl Radio Row, and House of Horns should have a live show from Las Vegas, but it costs money to get equipment, housing, just put it on the whole production in person. It's cool to do it from the comfort of our home, like we're doing right now. But doing it in person takes a little more effort and requirement. But also, there's a few links. But check out all the links in the description. But I think that's about it for
One
promos
more
on
thing,
Compass on the Beat.
and
Yes,
then
this one is more House of Horns related. We're giving away a Puka Nakua jersey here when we get to 1,000 subscribers. And like I mentioned, that video with Kirk Morrison really got us going to get to 1,000 subscribers. People are watching and subscribing. We love it. If you haven't done so, check it out, subscribe. And also, if you can, spread the word. If you're a Rams fan, hey, check out this YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe and support the compas, Gil and Vic. So that'd be pretty cool if you guys do that. But we're giving away the jersey here when we get to 1,000, like I mentioned. But the catch is, we just want you to keep watching the show. Keep watching here the preview show, and many people already know the rules here. A lot of people have multiple entries, from 5 to 10 or 12. I lost track. Some people are really locked into this giveaway for the Puka Nakua jersey giveaway. Keep watching. Eventually, we're going to drop some keywords, and when we drop the keywords, just comment either on the live chat or on the replay chat, or it's a regular chat, I guess. So with the keywords, if you want an extra entry for the Puka Nakua jersey giveaway, send me an email, Gilberto, Gilbert with the no at compasonthebeat.com. Victor, you flash the banner when you get a chance there for my email. If you're
yep.
on audio, again, it's Gilbert with the no at compasonthebeat.com. Give me your YouTube username, give me the keywords and the time we drop the keywords, and I'll give you multiple entries. And I think when we get to 900 subscribers, I'm going to find more creative ways to get people more entries. They're like raffle
Okay.
tickets. The more tickets you have, the better chance you get to get this Puka Nakua jersey giveaway, which is now really valuable because that guy is a monster. He's a great player, already one of the best wide receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, and I mean, it's we want to reward people for sticking with us. This season has been, great just to be able to, have this community. I've started seeing people comment on our community posts. It's been awesome to see. So shout out all the new subscribers. It's been awesome to see that as well. I mean, people are in there, having a conversation, and which is what we wanted. Above everything else is being able to have a conversation about your Rams here. So it's been great to see that as well. But Gilbert, I have one more thing that I got you that I need you to do, and that has to do with the engagement question. What do you have for the people today?
Yeah. Yeah. Can't forget about the engagement question of the week. And I think people are very curious to see what Raheem Morris is going to do, the defensive coordinator for the Rams, who is pretty busy. He has a lot of interviews or head coaching jobs. And I hope he gets a job too for the head coaching carousel going on. I think we're up to like 7 or 8 openings. So the more openings, the better. Or well, not for people who are losing their jobs, but more opportunities for Raheem Morris to get a job. And he's been pretty close and hasn't really got one. He might have been the runner up to for the Indy job, but he lost it to Shane Steichen. So we'll see if he gets another crack being a head coach. But right now he has priorities, and that's to beat Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. And some people kind of want to see him mix it up because that secondary has been a problem all year. Not all year, but more in the back end of the season. And then you have to deal with Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Jameer Gibbs, Dave Montgomery. I could keep going on and on and on. So will it be a unique game plan? Will it be the regular what we've been seeing? Play a little safe, let guys do their assignments, play within the scheme, and just let the offense kind of do its thing. Don't they're not really a bend don't break defense, but they're more like we're a little cautious. We'll play it safe. That's what I think Raheem Morris likes to tell his players. But what if they start blitzing this time and made they pick it up? Ernest Jones was so great in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, where he was an extra rusher and it made all the difference in the world to win that Super Bowl. So let me know your comments. How should Raheem Morris game plan versus the Lions? Obviously, we know Jared Goff very well from his time in LA. How should they play him? Maybe Jared Goff is a different quarterback. I think he's a different quarterback, an improved quarterback from the LA days. So, just want to hear your thoughts. How Raheem Morris should attack it, and maybe Victor, you could start it off, or unless you got something planned for later.
Let me get to these comments and then we can talk right about it. So we have Alonso Taganga, our friend here. He says everyone's talking about Stafford, but no one is talking about send away Jared Goff. He probably heated and wants this W bad. And if you want, I can answer that right away, Gilbert, because I'll let you, since you spend a lot of time promoting and going over the engagement question. And the way I'll answer this is, Gilbert, I think there's a lot more pressure on Jared Goff because of this, because he wants to prove that, hey, I need to prove something to not only Detroit, because he's in a contract year. He's got one more year left. He wants to make sure that he's the guy there in Detroit. You also have Ben Johnson looking for jobs. He's probably not sticking around. So do you trust Jared Goff without Ben Johnson going forward? If you're Detroit, if you lose
Mm,
this game, there's a lot of pressure on Jared Goff, and then you're having to prove it against the guy who let you go, who said, "Hey, I think you're not the answer for us." There's another guy out there, which and turned out to be Matthew Stafford. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Jared Goff in this game, and I think that's where I think we need to kind of start the conversation, Gilbert.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and that's a good call on you. If Ben Johnson goes, like, how's that affect the offense and Jared Goff? Like we all know, like the partnership with Sean McVay and Jared Goff, it kind of was like, Sean McVay had to walk him through a lot of the plays, and obviously doesn't have the same issue with Stafford, but he is a much improved quarterback. He's a lot more seasoned. Getting to work with, Ben Johnson, maybe could show who he really is. And it's funny because he's been there for 3 years, one really bad season, and it wasn't really his fault. It was a bad roster, bad situation in 2021. Then I think he played his best football in 2022. He wouldn't turn the ball over. He was, still pretty aggressive, moving the ball down the field, but they came up pretty short when they won that game in Green Bay, but they couldn't make the playoffs. Now I feel like this year's Jared Goff is the one that we should really like identify him. Like he is a guy who pushes the ball down the field, plays well within the system, and knows how to take in the coaching. But like sometimes locks in on a receiver, or he makes an interception, or he has a misfire. And he's been doing that a little more in 2023. So I feel like the Jared Goff we're seeing right now is who he's going to be regardless of the coaching. So it's still a good quarterback. It's not the best, not an elite quarterback, but like you mentioned, the pressure's on him. And if he doesn't win this game and he loses, coach, and maybe they'll try it one more year. Like you mentioned, there's still some time on that contract, but after that, it's kind of like, well, it's like Geno Smith. It's like it worked for a bit, but you got to find somebody else. But we'll see how it turns out. He's a good quarterback, but again, if you want to get better, there's other quarterbacks or other options you could go to.
Yeah, and then the other thing too, Gilbert, I sent you this graphic which kind of since that 2021 trade between the Rams and the Lions, Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff both have 24 wins. They both have a completion percentage of 66%. Stafford has 75 passing touchdowns, Goff has 78. They both have turned the ball over 41 times, and they both have one Stafford has a passer rating of 95.8 and Goff has a passer rating of 96.5. The only difference is one of them has a Super Bowl and the other one doesn't. So, I mean, and I asked this question: Who won this? I think we can both agree here, Gilbert, that the trade was a win for both of them. I think the Rams have a little bit of an edge just because they were able to get that Super Bowl.
Yeah, those numbers are they're a little like misleading because Stafford didn't really play last year, and it was a rough year all around. He was dealing with injuries, but then again, Jared Goff had a rough first year in Detroit because it wasn't his fault. It was a bad roster. They're in the beginning of a rebuild. But like you mentioned, it's all about the Super Bowl. What do you do in the playoffs? And I think we all know that Stafford is a better quarterback than Jared Goff. Like again, no knock on Jared Goff. He's a very good quarterback, but he's not like on the Stafford level. But at the same time, too, Vic, like I think maybe an underrated storyline is like, I wonder how Stafford feels seeing the Lions finally like have like a winning roster or a winning franchise, a winning culture. Like he was there for 12 freaking years, and they couldn't do that when they had Calvin Johnson. They couldn't get him a running game. They couldn't get him quality coaches. They couldn't get him a good defense, and he had to leave. So I think that's why people were supportive of his 2021 Super Bowl run because he tried everything. He wanted to stay and he couldn't do it, but maybe somewhere deep down, it's kind of like I want to stick it to this team because like they couldn't do this for me. Jared Goff all of a sudden has Jameer Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta. Like what the hell? Like maybe he kind of is taking that a little personal.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing too with this trade that I think a lot of people don't talk about is the fact that the the Rams had to trade an extra first round pick in order to make the salary work for to take on that salary from Jared Goff. So there's also that. I mean, there's a lot to kind of digest here in terms of this trade, but I think they're both in a good situation now. I mean, the Lions are in the playoffs for the first time since 93. So that's great to see. Detroit is excited about the Lions, and then here with the Rams, they moved back from St. Louis to Los Angeles, and right away they end up winning a Super Bowl within a few years. So it's been a win-win for both teams, and it's kind of changed the way people think about both franchises, and they've been well built, and that has a key. You know, the people who deserve a lot of that of credit is Les Need and Brad Holmes, the two GMs for both teams. So let me get to more of these comments, Gilbert. We have Onyx, who always checks in. Onyx 2626. Rams are the sleeper car this season. Lions are going to be disappointed, and I mean, it's pretty. That's why a lot of people are picking the Rams is because I think everybody, I mean, they're 7-1 since what was it, week 10, I think. So, I mean, they've been on a roll. We have Michael Armenta, who checked in with us last week. He's like, "What's up, compas? Hey, man, we're here.
What's up,
We're
Michael?
ex- we're excited that you're checking in with us." And then he left us a comment here. He says, "Defense has to get to Goff. Hits, sacks, pressure. Ram fans know how he plays when he gets shook." And that was a big theme of the press conference the last couple of days. I went back and I listened to the McVay press conference today, and then the what and then he talked to some of the reporters on Monday as well, on Tuesday I should say. And that was the big thing was McVay just trying to make sure that he didn't say. He said he learned a lot from the first time when he had Goff, and he felt like he was a big. Both of them were young, and he said that he didn't handle things right the way he told him about he wasn't the guy. And I think McVay was sincere about that, Gilbert.
Yeah, no, like you mentioned, they were both young, and it was a little bit of a bad breakup, and then the whole thing in Mexico, like, yeah, they just ran into each other. I don't know if I believe all that, but it didn't work. They had some good results, but that last year, the 2020 year, it was a pretty rough year for Jared Goff, and I'm sure like it was pretty frustrating for Sean McVay. He's like, hey, I'm trying to coach this guy up. I'm in his ear throughout the whole time we have in the huddle. I'm trying to lead him the right way. I got him Todd Gurley. We got to the Super Bowl. And maybe he thought that was it for him, and there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe like you mentioned, he handled it poorly, but it was the right way to go. And like we mentioned, it was a good way for both parties for that one. And then that's what I go back to saying this is a real Jared Goff in 2023 because the Detroit Lions offensive line was outstanding in 2022. They took a couple steps back this year, and now you're seeing that part of the Goff where like gets a little rattled. Uh, he's an accurate quarterback, but then when he gets a little shook, like Michael said, he makes a mistake or he has like a bad misfire, like in the Cowboys game. So and then we've seen the offensive line, especially like we mentioned, there was that game where Frank Ragnow, the center, didn't play against the Bears, and that was their worst offensive performance all year. And so when the offensive line is clicking, it's a very good offensive line. That's why I like when Campbell, I think his first pick when he got there was Panay Sewell. You build in the trenches. They already got their veteran guys, Taylor Decker, who reported, by the way, Taylor Decker. So they have some veteran guys there in the offensive line, but if they're playing great and your pass rush can't get there, and when you have Aaron Donald, it makes life much easier. We'll get to that matchup in a bit. But Jared Goff, he needs to have a lot of things perfect, and I think that's why McVay went away. Like, you know what? I can't have something perfect. What if we fall behind? What if we, it's a sloppy game, and we need somebody to save us. We need a quarterback to drop back and go down the field. And if Alonso, if you're watching, sorry about this, but that's why Kyle Shanahan hasn't won a Super Bowl. He doesn't have that drop back quarterback. We're like, hey, go save us, man. Go, like a Josh Allen. Hey, if you want to throw an interception, that's okay, but we need you to save us. And Jared Goff has never really been that guy, and that's why they got Matthew Stafford. And one more thing to Onyx there, like I think the Rams are kind of playing with house money. Nobody expected them to be here, but the sleeper thing, man, I'm seeing too many people out there backing the Rams all of a sudden, and like they're gonna jinx it. I feel like maybe or not, I don't know. But all of a sudden, anybody that thinks the Rams are really good and dangerous, I'm like, hopefully they were watching the Brett Rippon game in Green Bay.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I understand why people are jumping on the bandwagon, and also you see that record where the number 6 seed is 4-2 under this new format, and so, but yeah, you're right. I mean, I think they're no longer that sleeping car. They're more of like everybody, you know, realizes how good this team is, and to our conversation with Kirk Morrison, he mentioned it that I think things changed once they played that Thursday night game, and I think the national people, everybody around, around the league noticed, hey, like this Rams team is really good. They started to see some of these players, and I think that it changed for everybody. I think we saw it right after the bye week, but I think the national audience got to see it, and I think that's why people started jumping on the bandwagon. You saw all the shows the next day on Friday talking about this team and how dangerous they are.
Yeah, and if you haven't done so, watch the Ravens game. That was such a fun game, and that wasn't on prime time. So this team has been pretty fun to cover since that terrible Brett Rippon game, and even that game last week against the 49 was pretty interesting with Carson Wentz. But this team has a lot of compelling new stars and new players that people are going to find out a lot of, like a Kobe Turner, by the way, and Ernest Jones come Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, and I was still listening to people this week, as like I said, getting ready, just trying to get a gauge from from the Lions fans base, and I heard somebody call them the St. Louis Rams. I heard someone say it's Aaron Donald and a bunch of no name guys.
Oh,
So they're
still?
still not,
Dang.
yeah,
Okay.
they're still not getting the respect defensively. I mean, I've heard some people talk about Raheem Morris and the job he's done, but outside of that, it's Aaron Donald, and then we're going to be able to score on that defense. And I can't wait to break more of this down. But let me get to this last comment here that we have, just from and like we mentioned, Gilbert, people, if if you're watching, we see you. Go ahead and leave us your comment, just like Suave Norteño here. He says, "What up, guys? New subscriber here. Really enjoy your podcast. Go Rams." Hey, thanks for checking in with us. Awesome to see people, subscribe. We're trying to give away that Puka Nakua jersey, but above all, we're here to talk Rams, Gilbert.
Yeah, I like the name Suave Norteño from what, like Tijuana or Texas. I want to
Monterrey.
know. Yeah, Monterrey or border town. So let me know which part of Suave you're from, or maybe like you're super north, like maybe in Alaska or something. I don't know. That'd be kind of a nice twist. How about that?
One more
Welcome,
comment
by the
here.
way, too.
James Wheelock, Stafford seems to play well when the game is on the line. He is good in the clutch, and Goff has tremendous ability, but also probably not as good in the clutch. And I mean, to your point, Gilbert, I'll say this about Stafford. I mean, he's 4-0 in the playoffs, and he had a clutch throw against the Buccaneers in that playoff
Oh
run
yeah.
where against where he found Cooper Cup and they won that game. I mean, they almost gave that game away. I mean, I was watching that game just to prepare for this week, and I mean, I forgot about those fumbles from Akers. So
Oh
hopefully,
yeah.
yeah, hopefully, Kyren Williams can hold on to the ball, and the Rams can win this game without having any turnovers. But Gilbert, I don't have. There's not a lot of Rams news and notes. I'll just get to the the injury report. So Joe Noboom did not practice, but from the press conference with Sean McVay, he said that he just they just want to have a walkthrough, but he should be good to go from what it sounds like on Sunday. We'll see as the week progresses. The other two that I'm going to mention, I don't think isn't looking good. He said that they'll see what the update is later in the week because he really didn't go into too much into it, and that's Jordan Fuller with an ankle and linebacker Troy Reader with the knee. So there's a possibility we don't see both of those guys. And then you also have Rob Havenstein. He got his usual veterans rest on Wednesday, but he should be good to go on Sunday. And then limited was Kevin Dotson, offensive lineman with the shoulder, and Tyler Higbee with the shoulder. We're probably going to see both of those guys. And then with the Lions, Gilbert, it sounds like they're being a little optimistic when it comes to Sam Laporta. He did not practice today, but from what I've heard, is Dan Campbell is a bit optimistic that he's progressing day by day. So there's a chance there, but I never believe. According to Lions media, he's pretty straightforward when it comes to injuries. So
Hmm.
we'll see how that what happens. But Kirk Morrison said he wasn't expecting Sam Laporta to play. Were you able to see the injury? Did it look really bad, or
Yeah, he got carted off the field, and that's why I'm like, why do you play people on week 18? And it's like, but I get it. They were I give Dan Campbell an excuse because at the time when he was playing, there was still a chance to get the number 2 seed. So if you win, you beat the Vikings, and you're waiting to see what happens to the Commanders. And I don't blame Campbell because like we've seen way too many upsets. At least try, hold your end of the bargain, and then see what happens with the teams playing later on. And it didn't work out. He got bit by the Sam Laporta injury, and it did not look good. And then after the press conference, he said, "Yeah, it doesn't look good for him, but we're not. We got better news." So it sounded like it's not season-ending injury. It's more like it could be a couple of weeks. But now he's saying maybe the guy could play, and you saying that the Lions reporters say he's pretty straightforward makes it seem like it's legit. Then I thought maybe like it's the playoffs. You got to play the mind games. You got to pretend like, hey, this guy has an outside chance to play. Maybe that's what it is. He's changing his kind of approach because it is the postseason. It's something different where you got to make Raheem Morris account for Laporta playing because he's such a game changer. He's a really good rookie tight end. He might be like a top 4 tight end already, like Kittle. Kelsey. Obviously, you got more am I blanking on Kittle, Kelsey, and then you got Mark Andrews, and then maybe Sam Laporta, top four, top
Uh,
five. So he's been so dynamic. Obviously, the Iowa tight ends, and then going back to Jordan Fuller, Kirk Morrison had a lot of praise for Jordan Fuller during our interview. So hopefully he's ready to go too because he's a little underrated. He's needed with such a young secondary. They haven't been the best secondary, but you can't afford to lose that guy either.
Yeah. And then the last one was the other guy that left that game, and that was Khalif Raymond with the knee. He also did not practice for the Lions. So we'll see. They're a little banged up, but they had a lot of guys who had full practices who were a little dinged up after that Vikings game, but it's starting to look like they're gonna play. So we'll see. I mean, and then in terms of you know Sam Laporta, I saw some of the reporters saying, "Hey, we really they really would take Sam Laporta at 50% over what the rest of the tight ends they have on the roster." So it tells you how much he is going to be missed if he does not play. So they're looking to make sure uh, they're looking to see what happens there. But all right, Gilbert, let's get to storyline Rams Lions storylines. Start off with the Lions here. Where are you starting off with in terms of what do you got for the Lions?
Yeah, and I already touched on the Sam Laporta thing, and I see the comment right there. If you want to pull it up real quick,
Yeah.
he is just so vital for this offense, and I keep going back and forth like which offense was better last year because the offensive line was better for the Lions. They're still a good offensive line, but I think I'll take this one because they had Sam Laporta this year, and he's so great and dynamic, and then but then, if you don't have Laporta, you need Jameson Williams to step up. I'm on Ross A. Brown, who is a feisty competitor, and he is mad about not making the Pro Bowl. So, you know, in terms of the game plan here for the Lions, they're gonna have to adjust probably without Sam Laporta, like D777 Mac 777 says 49% of the first downs come from Laporta, and yeah, he could block. He's a blocker like Kittle. He's a receiver like Travis Kelsey. He does a little bit of everything there. So uh, they're offense first, and they do have some playmakers on defense. I like Aiden Hutchinson. I like Leo McNeil, who I think came off of IR last week. Same thing with CJ Gardner Johnson, the safety. They invested in the cornerback with Cameron Sutton. Mosley, the former DB for the 49ers, he got hurt. I think he's out for the year. Cameron Sutton has not been as good away from Pittsburgh, which kind of tells you maybe more the Mike Tomlin scheme. He was a breakout guy last year. He got paid in Detroit. Hasn't paid off, but they got the safety Melifano will step up, 30-year guy. They have Branch, is a Dion Branch, Alabama cornerback who plays nickel, but does a little bit of everything, can play inside, outside. So they have playmakers. So, you know, Aaron Glenn's defense, who the DC was also getting interviews for head coaching vacancies. The numbers aren't pretty, but he knows how to develop people and put people in the right spot to make plays. That's what you see Melifonwu stepping up. You see Branch stepping up as a rookie. I think Jack Campbell's coming along late in the season. Anzalone, the linebacker there who always gets like 100 tackles per year, is in the middle. So the numbers aren't pretty, but they have improved. Like they got exposed in secondary after the Ravens game. They got beat down. If you want to take a little bit of a head-to-head comparison with other opponents, the Rams went to overtime with the Ravens. The Lions got destroyed by the Ravens, but it's a long season. I think that happened like in week 7, and then that defense really fell apart after that. They had a tough time with Justin Herbert and the Chargers at SoFi. They had a tough time with Justin Fields twice. But then after they've kind of figured it out, Aaron Glenn slowed it down. So I don't want to call them like they're just too offensive mindset. They also have some playmakers on defense. They also have kicker problems. I think I haven't double checked, but maybe their kicker
Well,
might be
they
bad.
let Riley Patterson go, and then they
Yeah.
brought in why am I
Oh, yeah,
blanking
Michael
on it?
Badgley,
Michael Bashley.
the money
Yeah,
badger. That's
yeah.
what it was. So I remember that. So they're kind of going something similar with the Rams here, going with Brett Maher. So, Badgley's been known to miss a couple too. He's been bouncing around in the NFL. I lost track of where he's been. So when I saw him kick the other day, I'm like, oh, what happened to Riley Patterson? But so
Yeah,
maybe
he ended up with the Browns because remember their kicker, who was Dustin Hopkins,
Yeah,
left the game hurt, and then so he had a they the Browns signed him off the Lions practice squad. So yeah, it's been rotating kickers all over the league.
it's a very similar team, man. Like offense, explosive, some secondary problems, some kicker problems. So that's what makes this game so much like fun. Like it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I get the Lions won a few more games, but the Rams came on pretty late. If they were playing like this all year, so who knows what the record would have been? Might have been 12-5 too. So they're very identical. As we know the story, they haven't been winning before. They haven't won much before Dan Campbell got around, before Brad Holmes got around. But I just want to kind of break down how they are, and they are very similar to the Rams currently in 2023 or 24, I guess.
I you brought up a name, and that was Cam Sutton, and I wanna play something for you here that Kirk Morrison told us, and it has to do with the defensive backs coach who used to be with the Lions and now is with the Rams, and he's been a big reason why the Rams secondary has been a lot better this season. So let me share that with
A
you.
guy who's been an undercover MVP for the Rams is bringing back Aubrey Pleasant, who actually
Mm.
worked in Detroit, but he's able to come back with the Rams this year. I don't think that's being talked about enough. Aubrey Pleasant is a great defensive back teacher of the game. And I think that's also what's helped out that Rams, especially in that back end.
So there you go, Gilbert. I mean, I
Yeah.
think I think they probably miss, and I from what I remember, I didn't bring it up with Kirk, but from what I remember, the Lions fired Aubrey Pleasant. So
Yeah.
I mean, this is also a revenge game for Aubrey Pleasant. So
Yeah.
that should be another
I
storyline to
I
be
can't
added to
remember who
it.
got fired last year or the first year of Dan Campbell, but they were really bad. Actually, it was last year. They were really bad defensively in 2022. And then when they fired him, made him the scapegoat, things improved and they made that late surge and missed out. I think they were like 9-8, but I'm sure Aubrey Pleasant, probably takes it personally. Hey, they made me the guy. I don't know why. And that's why I feel like, they really like Aaron Glenn for a reason. Like the numbers aren't there, but they went and fired somebody else to say, you know what, it's not Aaron Glenn. So it was a strange dynamic all around.
Yeah, and I mean, just to your point, I think it's the Spider-Man meme here with these two teams. I mean, this is why you wanted to see this matchup is because there there there's a reason why Brad Holmes went from the Rams to the Lions, and you've seen him kind of incorporate the same kind of things. The only difference here is that the Lions actually are paying their offensive line. The Rams don't care about paying their offensive line. They rather develop their own offensive line, and so that's been something interesting to see. And then as you talked about with Amar St. Brown, he one of the things that I kept listening to this week is the fact that he got snubbed over Puka Nakua, and I just saw a a comment here where it's from Michael Armenta. It says Lions will have no answer for Puka Nakua, but I didn't realize that Amon St. Brown did not make Amon Ross St. Brown did not make the Pro Bowl, and he's got some beef there. But I mean, Puka Nakua broke a rookie receiving record as well, so he's deserving as well. I don't
You
think you kick one.
Puka might have more yards than him too, I
Yeah,
think, but
yeah,
they're pretty close. But it was a tough field because you can't deny CD Lamb, and also Mike Evans got in, which I thought he was deserving. Maybe he could have made a case for taking AJ Brown because he got pretty cold after like week 10. Like I don't know what the heck happened to AJ Brown. He was on a tear, and then the entire Eagles team fell off. So it could have been he should have the beef with AJ Brown, not with Puka Nakua.
yeah. I'm with you there, especially like you shouldn't take it away just because he's a rookie. I mean, he broke some records there, and it's not that we're over here trying to be homers. It's just that's the reality of it. I mean, I never understand why because you're a rookie you they say you should earn it before. No, he broke receiving records. You should reward the guy. I'm with it. So
Yeah,
we
I
had
just checked. He actually had a little better numbers too, so maybe he should be a little ticked off. 119 receptions, 1,500 yards receiving. So, but well, it's still
yeah,
close. But what about
since
the
we
blocking and all that with the things like that?
yeah, exactly. He does, and I mean, I just I hate the fact that we're having to take pick one over the other. I mean, they're both deserving, Gilbert.
Yeah.
We know what it is. It's a popularity contest, and so that's just the way it works. James Wheelock, I may contradict myself a little as Goff came through against the Chiefs in that 54-51 game and in the NFC Championship
Yeah.
game the same year against New Orleans. Yeah, I mean,
And shout out
it's
to the
true.
referee too in that game, but nobody wants to
Yeah,
hear that.
and I'll talk about that game coming up, and that has to do with my storylines before. Rams here says one. What is it? Rams RPTN want the Rams to go on offense first, and I'm with them too. Like go ahead and put the pressure on Jared Goff to be have and that offense to keep up with the Rams. I would take the ball first too, Gilbert.
Mm. I don't know how I feel about that one because you know, yeah, I guess you're right. Like especially like you know, I don't know. Maybe you give Jared Goff the ball, let him make the mistake. That way, when the ball goes to Stafford, Ford Field is not rocking. Like imagine if he goes out there first, it's gonna be freaking loud. So maybe let Jared Goff do the first mistake, or maybe the defense gets a quick 3-and-out, and they're not as loud by the time Stafford gets to the field. But it's simple
And
things like that. But yeah, either or, I'm okay with it.
this is why I love the comments here because it set me up for my storyline for the Rams, and it has to do with the fact that I think playing at Ford Field is going to present some problems for the Rams. And the reason I say that, Gilbert, is I was listening to the press conferences, and shout out to Gary Klein of the LA Times because he asked a very good question that I wanted someone to ask, and that has to do with the fact that the Rams haven't, under Sean McVay, they haven't had to play on the road, on in the wild card round, Gilbert. The only time they did was against the Buccaneers, and they played great. So Gary Klein asked McVay, how do you feel about having, or how do you deal with the noise? Because it's going to be rowdy at Ford Field. And when was the last time that you remember, speaking to McVay, that, it was a hard place to play where, you had to use a silent count? And two of the games he brought up was the game against the Buccaneers, which they won, which I talked about earlier, where Cooper Cup, caught that pass late in the game from Matthew Stafford, and they beat Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. The other one was the 2018 NFC Championship game against the Saints, and I've heard, you've been around the at some NFL stadiums, and the in terms of the indoor stadiums that I've heard that are really tough to hear, one of them is New Orleans, and the other one is the one in Indianapolis. Now you have that, and then then we also saw, Gilbert, that communication, they had some communication problems during the season, late in the season here. We saw it against the Ravens on that in the fourth quarter and in overtime, where there was some communication with the mic between Stafford and McVay. And so that's why, to that comment, I would want to see the Rams get the ball first so they're able to, you know, check their communication and go on attack mode. But I just think that it, and like I said, the Lions haven't been in the playoffs in 30 years. Those fans are going to be, they're going to be fired up for this game. They're going to be loud. It's Sunday night. They're going to be drinking all day, outside of Ford Field. I mean, when they get in there, it's going to be a ruckus. You got, you have Matthew Stafford coming back home. They want to continue this Cinderella, I guess, storyline for the Lions, and so there's a lot here to be excited about. But I just think that playing at Ford Field might present some problems for the Rams, Gilbert.
Yeah, these are some good points, and like it was an issue for McVay to get the plays in on time. He hasn't really done that since the Baltimore game, but it happened pretty often before that. Like why is it taking so long to get the play call in? And we all focus on Stafford dealing with the noise. We all focus on the youth like Puka Nakua and Kyren Williams, dealing with the playoffs for the first time. They're going to be a little nervous, but it's going to be also critical for the head coach to make sure everything is running smoothly, get the play calls in. especially if the game gets a little tight. It's a one-score game at the end. It gets loud the whole time. So, uh, I'm sure he's gonna have like a his big old play sheet saying, "Hey, if I'm overthinking it, I need a go-to quick play." He probably has like a column with that saying, "You know what, F it, just go with this one and save some time here." So, you got to be ready, prepared. You can't waste a lot of time, and there's little small things like that that we kind of overlook when we're talking on a preview show like that. And maybe that's why we're the best of the best. Here we go. I'm gonna be a
Yeah.
little confident there. We talk about the little details like that.
Yeah, and you got to pay attention to that. And to me, that's something that I'm going to keep an eye on. Here, let me get to more of these comments, and then
Yeah.
we'll move up to our player matchup. We have D777 Mac. It says the Lions pass rush must be active all game, putting pressure on Stafford, making him have happy feet. And one of the things about this, Gilbert, is the offensive line in terms of how good it's been. It's been a top 10 unit all season. And I know we just praised the Lions offensive line. They're a top 3 unit hands down. It's been them, the Eagles, I'm trying to think of another good offensive
Cowboys are
line.
pretty good when they're
The
healthy.
Cowboys, when they're healthy. So, but the Rams, they've been good all season. Unless they lose either Rob Havenstein or whenever Alaric Jackson has been out, they've struggled. But as you just talked about, they've been a top 10 offense in offensive line with Kevin Dotson. So I don't even against the Ravens, which we thought they might have some problems. They didn't. They kept the Ravens in check. You know, and so I'm not as worried about the Lions putting pressure on Matthew Stafford. I think there's other places to kind of be worried about. I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, that's why it's so important to get the running game going. That's why it's good to have these pre-snap motion where you're kind of. I think you're froze, Victor, by the way. But there you go, you're back. I was like, hey, you're really into this question here, but uh, yeah, like the pre-snap motion, just kind of confusing people. You can't let Aiden Hutchinson tee off and who knows what side he's gonna be on. I think he's one of those guys that goes back and forth on which side. That's why it could be Havenstein, it could be Jackson. You just got to account for him and I know he doesn't have a lot of help in the front, but I think having a Liam McNeil back, the interior pass rusher, is big for that team. So uh, that's why I think this offense really works because of what. Maybe that could be part of the reason why the play calls take a while to come in. Like they're just trying to create some chaos before, and that's another little detail. Like Dan Campbell too, he likes to play little mind games, and that's why they got burned in Dallas with a 2-point conversion. So all these tricks before the ball is snapped. Like these two teams, Ben Johnson and McVay, do it so well. So it won't be easy for Aiden Hutchinson, but that he's a good player. He hasn't got to that Myles Garrett level, but he's on the cusp of being something special. So you got to account for him too. And but it's just like it hasn't really been. It could be a problem, but it hasn't been an issue this year because of Kyren Williams. And obviously, when he wasn't around, and maybe the offensive line was a little banged up. Like that stretch where they went 3-6, you saw the pressure for Stafford, but they've gotten away from that, and hopefully for the Rams they don't go back to that.
Yeah, let me get to another comment here from James Wheelock. As far as kicking, the Rams have tried 2 kickers, and the first one a second time. Maybe it's a special teams issue, such as snapper and holder. Yeah, we've talked about that. They lost their regular long snapper. They tried bringing in another guy to their practice squad just to give the replacement a little bit of a competition, and so. I mean, it's been we've talked about the fact too that that's part of the problem with not having a lot of players. You have a lot of young players playing on special teams, and so I think that'll get fixed during the off season, Gilbert.
Yeah, no, definitely. He can't do anything about it. Like we mentioned, the Lions have their own issues too with the kicking. And it might come down to that. Maybe whoever makes the field goals will win this game. But I'm hoping nobody. Maybe they should kind of get together at the midfield, McVay and Campbell, and say, you know what, let's forget about this kicker. Can we just go for it every single fourth down? And I'm sure Campbell would not care because he's definitely one of the most aggressive head coaches in the NFL.
Yeah, I can see both teams being aggressive just because of how we've seen with Dan Campbell and what he does, and we have D77 Mac. It will come down to a field goal kicker who has the best one,
There
Lions
you
or
go.
Rams. There you go. So Nathan Clemick here it says Lions fans talking some crazy ish. Hey, I mean they've been honestly they haven't been too bad in our comments and we love that. We're just having an honest conversation. Like, we're not here to bash any of the teams. We like to give you guys the facts and go from there. How fans feel about it, that's up to them. But Onyx 26-26, Lions got to the playoffs under Jim Cadwell. And to this point, Gilbert, you know who was on Jim Caldwell's coaching staff? It was Ben Johnson. He retained by Dan Campbell, and I didn't know that. I was, like I said, as I was doing some research. Turns out the reason that Dan Campbell kept him around is because he actually knew him from his time with the Miami Dolphins. So there's where the connection kind of began, and that's
Oh,
why Ben Johnson is now with stayed with the Lions, which is a great find by
yeah.
him. Honestly, sometimes we're like, hey, go and find an offensive guy, and he saw Dan.
Well,
To his credit,
the the first year
go,
was Anthony Lynn. I think maybe Dan Campbell wanted somebody experienced, and he went for Anthony Lynn, and it didn't work out that first year, and fired him. And he probably, you know what, I'm gonna give this kid a chance, and it paid off.
yeah, and then we have Rams. Uh, RPTN, does Kyren go over 100 yards? And we'll get to that comment. It has to do with our keys to the game. So if you stick around, we'll give you. I think that it'll be part of our keys to the game. Um, all right, Gilbert. Who is? Oh, actually, we have the jersey giveaway keywords. Are you ready for it, Gilbert?
Yeah, here's a Puka Nakua jersey giveaway. Keywords, simple, playoff season. And you want to type it out as a SZN. That's cool too. You know, a little short writing there. But type in either in the live chat right here, Onyx, James if you want, D77 Mac, Nathan, Rams, PTN. You want to get a free Puka Nakua jersey. Enter the giveaway and just comment right now in the live chat if you want playoff season, or if you're watching the replay of this video, comment playoff season, and it will lock you in for one entry for the Puka Nakua jersey giveaway. If you want an extra entry, again, it's like a raffle. The more tickets you get, the better odds you increase to get this jersey. Send me an email, Gilbert with the no at compasonthebeat.com, Gilberto at compasonthebeat.com. Give me your YouTube username, or give me your actual name and your YouTube username. That way I can figure out who's who. Type in playoff season, and then give me the time that we mentioned this. And it's pretty late in the show. So if you watched for this episode, maybe you're enjoying the content, but we appreciate you sticking around for almost an hour. But send me an email there. Gilbert with the no, Gilberto with the no, Gilberto, full name at compasonthebeat.com. Playoff season, and we already got people jumping in the comments. I
There we
love it.
go.
That's pretty
I
awesome
love
to see.
that. Look
So
at that. Yeah.
I know how to figure out the live chat comments, so don't worry, they will not disappear. I will track everything. Once we get close to 1,000, I'm going to write everything down and make sure everybody has
And
their
we're close,
proper
Gilbert. We're
entries.
getting close and closer now. Like, at one point, we were like, "Oh, we got like 200." Now we're like right around 150 or so. We're getting close to there, so can't wait. All right,
Yeah.
Gilbert. Let's
And
get to
real
our.
quick, just again,
Yeah.
like we can't stress it enough. Tell people, if you know who are Rams fans who don't watch us on YouTube, hey, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000. We're at 840 something almost maybe. So like Victor mentioned, we're getting closer and closer, but we get a little antsy. We want to get to 1,000. So again, love to see all the comments here.
Yeah, if you're on Twitter, wherever you're seeing, and we see Jay DeLuise, yeah, go and hit that subscribe button. That way you can qualify for that Puka Nakua jersey. All right, Gilbert, let's get to our player matchups to watch. I'll let you lead off here.
Yeah, for me, I had Aiden Hutchinson, like I mentioned earlier, against the tackles, Jackson and Rob Havenstein. And, I was watching a good interview with Havenstein and JB Long, and saying how he's played with both quarterbacks, Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford. So for him, it's a very intriguing matchup. But yeah, Havenstein's been the veteran anchor of this offensive line. When Andrew Whitworth left, he became the captain and took over. So it's going to be a lot of work to deal with Aiden Hutchinson. If you cannot let him wreck the game, I remember he had that safety on Justin Fields with the game on the line, third down, and then he kicked the ball into the the end zone for a safety. So he's a game wrecker. He, like I mentioned, he's not really on the TJ Watt Miles Garrett level yet, but he's getting very close. I want to say it's his second year, it might be third year actually.
No, this is his second year.
Second,
But you
okay.
know who he reminds me of? He kind of reminds me of a smaller version of Max Crosby. And I hate. I know they're both white. I'm not trying to say that, but I think he needs to
Similar.
incorporate a couple of more moves. But he's
Yeah.
on. He's getting to that level.
Yeah, like he kind of goes quiet sometimes, but you could tell he's still playing hard. He never like lets up on a play, and that's the Max Crosby way. And even for him, like I think Crosby had a very good rookie year, and then he kind of fell off for different reasons too in the second year. And then after that, he's like, you know what, my work ethic, my moves, I'm never gonna go back to that. And he hasn't. So maybe Aiden Hutchinson could have that pickup from going to a very good edge rusher to a special one. Uh, and by the way, Victor, they asked me at SI to do some awards, and I had Max Crosby as my second defensive player of the year behind Miles Garrett. But to give Max Crosby a little love. But going back to Aiden Hutchinson, he's a good edge rusher. You cannot let him wreck the game for Stafford and the offensive line. So Jackson, Havenstein, whoever it is, and then even the guys in the middle. Like if you have a balanced attack, a good running game, you got running lanes for your running back and Kyren Williams. It just creates more confusion. He can't just tee off and use a couple of moves to get to Stafford. Like if he has to guess, he has to stop and think. It really kind of puts him off a bit.
Yeah, and to Michael Armenta's comment, yeah, he's
Oh,
played every snap, and for him to do that as a rookie is really impressive. But to your point, Gilbert, I mean, Hutchinson against either Havenstein or whether it's a Alaric Jackson, whoever he has to be, you have to protect Matthew Stafford. And running the ball. I think running the ball at the Lions is going to be a something that we'll get into. But yeah, and that's the way you do it because as we've seen Matthew Stafford when he was with the Lions, he only had 8 100-yard rushers his whole time with the Lions, and now and never had a consecutive one with the Lions, and now he has that with Kyren Williams. He's had three straight at one point, and so that was an impressive thing. But in terms of your player matchup, I think that's going to be a key one because you have Rob Havenstein, who's been a veteran. I think he's a connection to both of these quarterbacks, and so I'm with you. I'm gonna pay attention to that as well in terms of Aiden Hutchinson because he's been on the rise. I know that a lot of people were I know Lions fans were happy that he fell to them because everybody assumed he was gonna go to the Jaguars, but the Jaguars selected Trevon Walker,
yeah.
and so they and he's been impressive for them. And I mean, and I know I'm kind of changing it a little bit here, but in terms of with the Lions, they've been criticized for some of their draft picks, but they've all worked out in terms of the early rounds. Like we've talked about how Les Need has been great with his draft picks in the middle to late rounds. I think with Brad Holmes, you got to give him credit for all his early picks because everybody, I was going to bring it up earlier, but when you brought up Panay Sewell, it was like, why aren't you taking Jamar Chase? He's right there. And
Yeah.
it's like, no, we're gonna go with the offensive line because that's what we need to fix. We want to protect Jared Goff, and to his credit, it's worked out. Panay Sewell, you have, they've hit on whether it's been Jameer Gibbs, Jack Campbell. I know he's had an up and down season, so I mean, Sam Laporta, they found, what is it, in the second, third round. I mean, they've been able to hit on some of those early rounds. And even though they get, because I remember, I think it was in the second round, Sam Laporta was drafted ahead of Michael Mayer, even though Michael Mayer was rated higher.
Yeah.
If you like a certain player, you go and you get him. I
He's
don't
playing better
understand
than
why.
Kincaid too.
Yes.
He was a first
Um,
rounder.
yeah, exactly. For me, Gilbert, my player matchup has to do with Aaron Donald, Kobe Turner. That defensive line. I think they're gonna need to put pressure, as we talked about. I think and let me play a video here from Kirk Morris, and then it'll set up what I want to talk about in terms of keys to the to for this player matchup, and it has to do with Jared
We
Goff.
all saw what Jared Goff where he lacked at. He lacked in the ability to make things happen, especially in that zero blitz pressure. That was probably his Achilles heel while he was with the Rams. Just could never really find a rhythm and a momentum, even in the big games. I remember the Patriots sending that zero pressure to him in the Super Bowl, and Jared Goff just not having an answer for it. So yeah, that's going to be the game plan, obviously for the Rams at some point. But then you got to think about what Jared Goff is going to say. I know that's what you're going to try to do to me. So I have to come up with some answers. I'm going to have some things in my back pocket. I'm going to have some things in my toolbox. I've got an Amon-Ra St. Brown who can get open. You know, obviously Sam Laporta is going to be a game time decision. I don't think he plays, but you also got to throw in Jamison Williams. He's got now an outlet back, not a Todd Gurley, but a Jahmyr Gibbs. That if you check that ball down, Gibbs can turn a 2-yard check down into an 80-yard touchdown reception. That's how good he is. So this is going to be a chess match for sure.
And Gilbert, to his point, I mean, I think the Lions know what's coming. They know that the Rams are going to try to do some zero blitz coverage. And I just think that the reason that I'm looking at this player matchup between Aaron Donald and Kobe Turner, they need to get pressure up the middle. You need to be able to put pressure in Jared Goff's face. We've seen what Jared Goff can do if he has protection. We know that this offensive line is one top 2, top 3, whatever you want to say in terms. They're a well deserving further praise of this offensive line. For me, you cannot rely on Ernest Jones to put pressure from the linebacker because as he said there, if you don't get to Jared Goff and he puts the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs is going to go for 80, 70-yard touchdown. And so you need penetration from your two tackles here. I want to see some stunts. I want to see some different ways of putting pressure because if you start blitzing, you're gonna get killed by this offense. And as he said, it's gonna be a great chess match between Ben Johnson and Raheem Morris. And so for me, that player matchup is those interior offensive line of the Lions against Aaron Donald. Whether are they going to triple team him, and does that leave Kobe Turner? You have the other guys, Byron Young, trying to get some pressure on Jared Goff. So for me, that's the player matchup I'm watching, Gilbert.
Yeah, it's a luxury to have both of your interior guys able to also rush the passer. Like, when we think about nose tackles and interior defensive linemen, think about run stoppers and just kind of move the pocket, guys. Just create a little havoc in the trenches, fill a gap every now and then, things like that. But AD he's probably the first of his kind, or maybe not, I shouldn't say that. Obviously, there's a lot of football years in the NFL, but AD became so special because he wasn't just a run stopper. He was a sack artist, and then that's why they started getting second and double teams and treble teams and guys like that. And he's still getting about 10 sacks per game. And now we got Kobe Turner coming in doing the same thing from the similar position, more of a traditional nose tackle, and it says a lot that he has so many sacks. So they do have that. But to your point, Victor, you can't have rely on Ernest Jones because of all the weapons that the Lions have. So that's going to be critical for Michael Hoyt. Byron Young, we kind of haven't heard too much about Byron Young. Like, he was the one that started off hot, and then it became Kobe Turner. You're going to need a collective unit from all four guys there and the rotation of guys as well. So, hey, Michael Hoyt, you've been playing edge rusher for over a year now. Go make a play. Byron Young, you're not a rookie anymore. It's postseason. Go make a play. So they have the guys too, so they could maybe it could be one of these games where like it's all about timing, and maybe Raheem Morris doesn't get obvious and doesn't do it just on obvious passing situations with Ernest Jones. I think he's going to do it a couple times, but maybe not too often because of all the weapons you mentioned. And then on the flip side, that's what makes this game so difficult for Raheem Morris because of Jahmyr Gibbs. And then, Kurt Morrison mentioned, like, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs is not Todd Gurley because he does this and that. Well, they also have Dave Montgomery to kind of have, if you want to have two guys to resemble Todd Gurley, Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs is kind of that package right there. So you have to account for all that. And they're also going to make them guess too. And then Jahmyr Gibbs is also a rookie, but like, if you go with a series with Dave Montgomery of ground and pound, being physical, and then you have to go for the switch up and deal with the electric burner in Jahmyr Gibbs, that could get really to a defense. So this is a very intriguing matchup that you mentioned.
Yeah, and I mean, it'll be interesting to see the chess match between Ben Johnson and Raheem Morris and how they use their pieces because, like I said, I think not a lot of people are paying attention to this Rams defensive line, and it's going to be a challenge for them, especially going up against this really good Lions offensive line, as we talked about. And as he mentioned, if San Laporta isn't playing, he also has that element of being able to block. And if you don't have his blocking, I saw him try to block what's his name, Micah Parsons, and he there was a couple times where he missed a couple blocks there, but outside of that he's been really good blocking. And so if I think that's where they're going to miss him the most. I get it, he's really good catching the ball and being able to attack the middle of the field, but I don't think that matters here, just because I think the Lions might want to run the ball here against the Rams, because they might not want to get into a shootout with the
Yeah.
Rams. They might want to run the ball just to be able to set the tone for this game. So I think that's where it starts for me.
So we'll see more of Dan Skipper, maybe the guy
Yeah.
who said he didn't report, but the referee said he did.
Yeah, let me get to more of these comments and we'll get to our keys to the game. We have BC here. It says Rams gonna destroy the little lion man. We have Stevan who's putting in his keyword. Stream Shav. It says all the pressure and on Stafford. I would disagree with that. I don't know about you, Gilbert.
Yeah,
We
why not? It's coming back home too. Should be some pressure on there too. I think it is more on Jared Goff, but it's definitely gonna be a lot of pressure on Stafford too.
True, true. We have Mike Malik, Kyren for 150 yards, and I'll
All
get
right.
to that. We have Rams, R RPTN, Kyren plus 20 carries equals a W, and I think he's stealing my keys to the game, Gilbert. Extreme Shaft, Stafford throws 3 or more picks. And I'm
Oh
guessing
wow,
he's a
might be a
Lions
Lions
fan.
fan.
Yeah, there we go. Hey, it's
Yeah, no,
okay. We
good. That's
welcome
okay.
that.
Welcome.
Yeah, Michael Armenta says Puka 120 yards, Cup 110 yards, Karen 100. I hope.
Wow.
So I mean, he's expecting big games from the three-headed monster there that is the Rams receivers and running back. Yeah, Rams are PTN again. Honestly, beginning to think Rams win in a blowout.
Wow.
And then Mike Malik, all the pressure is against the Lions and Goff. So he agrees with that with us there as well. All right, Gilbert, let's get to, as you get a light show going there. Let's
Yeah.
get to keys to the games, and go ahead and start us off here. What are your keys to the
Yeah, I
game?
got the cat
What
here. He
and
wants
the
to hang
cat
out.
there?
He wants
There you
to
go.
do a key. See, all right.
Yeah, there we go.
He's gonna hit me with his tail, but you know what? For me, I'll try to be a little serious. Okay, get out of here, cat. There you go. Uh, I'm gonna go with Jameson Williams for the key here because I feel like the Rams should account for Jameson Williams because no Sam Laporta means like somebody has to step up. Like it can't just be Amon Ra in the passing game. So I think Jameson Williams, who he has moments where he has like a big touchdown bomb or a nice jet sweep. They try to find ways to get him to use his speed. And you were mentioning all the first round picks that they've hit. He's kind of been the one that's been on the fence there. They gave up a lot to
True.
get Jameson Williams, and you know he kind of gives me Tutu Atwell vibes, where like they can't figure out how to use him, but he's really fast, and sometimes he has some issues with catching the football, but not too bad. So I think he's going to be called upon too because Sam Laporta was so dangerous that it allowed Amon Ra to get open. So especially at the account for Jameson Williams down the field, we've seen the secondary. Secondary has been that's where I want to get to my point. The secondary for Raheem Morris has been pretty bad. Just keep it real on that front. I'm trying to maybe since the Baltimore game, maybe Baltimore found something there. OBJ, Zay Flowers, Terry McLaurin, having some good days there. So you want to see more. Obviously, Shaheed and the Saints game. I'm trying to remember all these times they got beat down the field.
Yeah,
Uh,
Slayton with the
yeah,
Giants.
Slayton too. So it was a rough, final 5 to 6 games for the secondary. And if they're gonna use more Jameson Williams, that means more of a burner on the field, along with Gibbs too. So you better keep track of Jameson Williams, especially if no Sam Laporta on the field. So you account for him, you stop him, you kind of put all the pressure on Amon Ra to deliver, and he doesn't have the security blanket and Sam Laporta because those guys were so vital in the intermediate game. We're like they just expanded the field. Like we all think about the vertical game, but what about the sidelines, the middle part of the field, and the seams? That was all Laporta and Amon Ra. Now you lose one, so you got to find another element to kind of take away pressure from Amon Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, and I mean to Michael Armenta's here comment, it says Goff and Reynolds I think are the only ones with playoff experience. I could be wrong, and Reynolds is another guy that could be big in this game, especially if Laporta isn't able to go. He's another
Yeah,
big receiver who can stretch the middle of that field.
that's
So
true.
that's a guy to kind of keep an eye on. But I'm with you in terms of your keys to the game. Mine, I'm going to go back to, and it has to do with Rams RPTN. And he said, Kyren plus 20 carries equals a W. And, one of the things that we've been asking for the since the beginning of the season, Gilbert, was get your running backs more than 20 carries, and there's Rams offense. We've seen McVay be stubborn about running the ball. It wasn't until they hit the bye, they came out of that bye, they got Kyren Williams back, and they've been able to run the ball, whether it's Kyren Williams or Ronnie Rivers. I was really impressed with what Ronnie Rivers did against the 49ers defense last week. He's been able to get solid yards. He's also been able to pick up blitzes. And for me, this game comes down to being able to run. We know everybody's going to tell you, Gilbert, that look, the Lions secondary has been giving up about 350 to 400 yards the last 4 games. They've been dreadful. But one thing they're really good at is stopping the run. And maybe it has to do with the fact that people are attacking their secondary and they're not running the ball as much. If you're the Rams, you cannot go away from running the ball. You need to keep the ball on the ground. You need to give it to Kyren Williams and Ronnie Rivers, and run them more than 20 yards. When the Rams get 80 or more yards on the ground for Kyren Williams, I think there's something like 7-1 this season. The only loss was the one against the Ravens, and we talked about that one. So the key for me, I don't care what I of course I care what Puka and Cooper Cup. I think they're gonna get their numbers. I think it comes down to how effective you're able to run the ball against this defense, that front seven of the Lions, because that'll give you that'll give you a great chance of winning this game on the road.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Like from the beginning, since that Colts game, I'm like, okay, you better get behind Kyrie Williams because he's going to be the one that's going to take you to a playoff run. And he got hurt, and we all saw how this offense was without Kyrie Williams. So when he came back, he didn't miss a beat, and here we are. The Rams are 10-7 in the postseason. So don't go away from what got you here. Yeah, Puka gets a lot of attention. He's a great wide receiver. He became the new number one for Stafford, but this offense starts and ends with Kyrie Williams. So I'm totally with you right there.
All right, Gilbert. Let's get to the rest of these comments, and then we'll get to our betting spotlight. We got Delbert Salgado. Delbert, good to hear from you. Take your take on the over under for Rams QB sack on Jared Goff. So, what do
Hmm.
you think, Gilbert? How many times do the Rams sack Jared Goff?
You know what? I'll go with four times. I think one each from the two defensive tackles. And you know what? One each for everybody. Michael Hoyt and Byron Young too. I'll go with four.
Okay. I'll say three. I say Ernest Jones gets one, and I say Aaron Donald and Byron Young get one. So those are, I'll say they get 3 sacks on Jared Goff. The Rams haven't been known to get a
Yeah.
lot of sacks, and so they mostly rely on, they want you to go the long way and score, and they'll get you to punt the ball, and they play more of a positional game. So their game isn't to pressure the quarterback, but I think in this game you're going to need to. Extreme Chef says the team the Lions are building is all because of the Stafford
Yeah.
trade, and that is true. I mean, it's all Brad Holmes and what he's been able to do with this team. I mean, honestly, since they got him and Dan Campbell, they've been great at building this team. I don't know. Did Brad Holmes win Executive of the Year, Gilbert, or not?
I feel like maybe he might. I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe he might have got something last year, but he might be in play for this year too. Who knows? And then also compete with Les Snead. He
That's neat.
might be. They're both in the mix.
Yeah, we have Pedro. He says, "What's up, fellas? Hey, what's going on, Pedro? Make
What's up,
sure
Pedro?
what's up. Make sure you're subscribe. We're getting his comment from Twitter, so we
Nice.
get to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. We got Mike Malik, Dan Campbell will go on fourth downs, fake punts, and onside kicks. Yeah, you gotta be on alert on everything here, Gilbert.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's kind of the like. I feel like for a defense, especially for the Rams defense, they're probably thinking, okay, we got to stop on third down. Like, crap! Now they're gonna go for fourth down. So that's kind of the good and bad thing with Dan Campbell. He's gonna put pressure on you, but if they don't deliver, it could really hurt them in a game. So it's 50-50 pretty much. I feel like it really burned them in that Cowboys game, but
Yeah.
he's won a whole lot of games by being aggressive. So I like that he stays true to himself.
Can I ask you this? I know it's kind of going a little bit off topic, but I feel like Brandon Staley took a lot of bad heat in terms because he would go for it. He seemed like he was a poster boy for going for it, but I don't see the same animosity for Dan Campbell, even though he's gone for it way more than whatever Brandon Staley did.
Yeah, you know what? I've heard people mention this, and from what I've been hearing, it's like Dan Campbell actually sticks to the numbers, analytics, when you should go with the green light and go. But Staley was more of a feel, like a guessing game. It's like he had a lot of trust in Justin Herbert, which he's a good quarterback, but and then when you go for a feel, you know, obviously you're going away from. I'm not saying it should be all about the numbers, but it felt like he was like listening to what people were saying, like, oh, you're doing it too much. So the second year, it's kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna tone it down. Then he stopped doing it, and then by the third year, it kind of fell off. Campbell's kind of like, you know what, I got a system. I figure out what's good for us. I got people in my ear telling me to go for it, and if I have to go off a gut feeling, I'll do that too. So he just found a good balance, and I think maybe he had a little less primetime games too. Remember, because the Lions weren't really like talked about
True.
in 2021, 22. They finally got maybe one primetime game, maybe that one at the end, right?
Right.
And now they're more in the spotlight. And then after when you take a franchise from the dumpsters pretty much to winning the division, people think about that. Look what he did, and they kind of forget about it. So it is a little unfair, but I think Campbell has done a better job of dealing with that.
All right, we got Michael Armenta here. Says Rams special teams better not give up any TDs or kicks or punts. I mean, if that's been the Achilles heels for this Rams team. If they lose, I think it has to do with the special teams. But if they're able to handle things offensively and defensively, that's where they're going to need to win this game. I think if they lose this game, Gilbert, it's going to be because of special teams.
Yeah, that's like my one hesitation when people are feeling really confident with the Rams, and not just Rams fans, like the national people is like they have a lot of problems on special teams, and they're very young. It's gonna be a playoff like atmosphere is very different, but and when it comes to two close teams and they have a very talented, it's gonna come down to special teams. So you better make sure that problem is fixed or at least good enough where it won't burn you.
Yeah. And then we got a compa here, Jorge Rodriguez. He says
Hey,
Gilberto and Dan and
Jorge,
Gilberto. There we
that's
go.
Gilberto. I can't do it
Uh,
as long as Jorge, but I tried my best. Shout and
there we go.
also I know Jorge's a Chargers fan, so he found us here, and he like maybe just he's a fan of the network, so I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I hope you subscribe. We love it. Mike Malik is back. He says 5 to 6 sacks on
Whoa,
Goff.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Uh, G's nuts. It says RD will need to stop their run game, and Donald needs to say hello to Goff early, and it's bye bye Lions. And maybe he gives them a scare, kind of like what we saw with Geno Smith, where he said, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
Here we go. We got Dilver Salgado. He says, punt the ball out of bounds. I'm with you. Punt the ball out of bounds. Just, do not let them return the ball at all. And, kick the ball into the end zone with Evans, because he's the one doing the kickoffs. I don't think Maher is going to handle. They've stuck with Evans as the kickoff guy and the punt guy. So that's cool. Uh,
One more thing with Khalif Raymond dealing with injury too. He's their speedy punt returner, so maybe it's one less thing to worry about on special teams.
There you go. And then Stream Chef has a something we have already talked about, and it has to do with how do you think the Rams will handle how loud Ford Field will be, Gilbert?
Silent count. One factor that we might be overlooking because these rookies they've been dynamic and like Kirk Morrison mentioned, there were guys who were ready to go, fifth year guys, fourth year guys in college. So, but playoff football is a different beast, and we'll see if these young guys are ready to go. But when you got when the quarterback is a former Super Bowl champion, and then the other guy, the wide receiver, is also a former Super Bowl champion and offensive player of the year, I think you're in good hands. And also with Sean McVay with the play calling, but I do worry about the rookies. I do worry about the play call not coming in on time. I do worry about the noise, so it's definitely a factor. I definitely do not want to overlook that.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the reporters for the Rams asked this exact question because the Rams, when they've been in the playoffs, they've either been at home and their only road games that they've played during their playoff run has been at the Buccaneers and at the New Orleans Saints. So, and they won both of them. So, but this is a completely different team, Gilbert. As you pointed out, you have some young guys on this team. So, and they've had communication problems, like it was against the Ravens. And so, like I said, for me, this was something that I wanted to talk about because not a lot of people are talking about this. So, thank you, Extreme Chef, for that question because I think it's something to keep in mind. That's why I'm saying, if I'm the Rams, I try to get the ball first and I try to go on the offensive attack because then that puts pressure on Goff and the Lions offense to be able to keep up with the Rams. And then we have Jorge Rodriguez says, "Nah, Gilberto. I'm a Gilberto fan, 100." So there you go. You got some
Uh,
fans out there.
Thank you, Jorge. Sometimes I feel like people like Dan and Diego more than I do, or maybe even Fernando Ramirez. Those brothers, man, they're really likable. So
Yeah,
I'm glad I have a supporter out there, and you, Jorge Rodriguez.
there you go. Extreme Chef says Detroit's O line is for real, and we pointed that out. They really are. They're a top two offensive line in this league for a reason. And
By the way, like there's no perfect name in the NFL, more perfect in the NFL for offensive lineman than Frank Ragnow. That's definitely
yes,
a lineman named
I
Ragnow.
like all their names. I was like Tyler Decker. What was the other
Yeah,
guy you mentioned? You got
Dan
Benuso,
Skipper,
Dan
and you got
Skipper.
Benesu, obviously. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're good lineman names.
Yeah. Pastor Young says Rams house, Stafford coming home. He's going home. We'll see how everybody reacts to that.
Yeah, I
He's
wonder.
he is
I wonder if he is a pastor, Pastor Young, or she.
yeah, yeah, and to this too, Gilbert. Like he's Baltimore over there right now with the Lions. They do not want to say his name because they want to make sure that Goff gets his due. G's Nuts says most of the big home games Rams have to go to silent count, so they're used to it. That's
Yeah,
true too.
yeah,
They have a lot of opposing fans that SoFi come in, they take over SoFi, and so they've been dealing with it forever. So good point by you there. All right, Gilbert, let's get to our betting spotlight. And the Rams are 3.5 point underdogs, and the over under is 51.5. Gilbert, what's the
oh.
right side of this bet here?
It's really high, the 51.5, but I'm not gonna hesitate. I just want to see a good, exciting game, and that means touchdowns need to be scored. So I'll take the over. Why not? It's a playoff time. Like I can overthink it. Maybe it'll be a running game, and they'll slow it down. I don't care. I want to see high scoring. So give me the over. That's just me being a little reckless there. And it might be the highest one because I saw the Packers Cowboys is 50.5, so this one's higher. So that's interesting to see there. I mean, because the defense is the Packers
They
defense
both
is not
score
great.
points. I mean,
Yeah,
the Rams, what, like since the bye week, they're averaging over 30 points,
yeah,
and then the Lions have been on fire. Like I thought for sure the Lions would struggle against Brian Flores' blitz packages against the Vikings. They were able to score some points there too. So I'm with you. I'm taking the over on this game as well. I mean, I just think it's an indoor game. There's no weather to prevent these offenses from going off. So, yeah, I'm with you on the. What about the line there?
yeah,
It feels like kind of a trap kind of line, Gilbert.
yeah. Because the point five makes it easier for me to take the
Right?
Rams. Like, oh,
Exactly.
you get
Yeah.
over a field goal too. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe I wonder how this line's gonna be moving because I keep thinking people are gonna be putting money on the Rams, but yeah, it could be maybe down to 2.5 by the end of the week. But I'll definitely take the point five with over a field goal.
Yeah, I'm taking the Rams to cover that 3.5. If it was under that 3, I probably take the Lions there, but that like I said, it just looks like a trap line right now. I'm sure it'll get betted down. I'm sure a lot of the sharp money is going towards the Rams. At least that's what I've been seeing from a lot of the people I trust in terms of betting. They all like the Rams in this game to cover, especially with that 3.5.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with that. But I don't want to say too much to give away my pick. But I
There we
like.
go. All right, Gilbert. So that send us your game
Yeah,
predictions, guys. Everybody who's watching, or even if you're listening, go and you head to the comments on YouTube and give us your comments on your game predictions. Sorry, I got thrown off there for a little bit, Gilbert. All right, Rams versus Lions game predictions. Go ahead, Gilbert. Get us started.
yeah. The Sam Laporta thing really sucks for the Lions, but I don't want to make it just about one injury. I think the Lions are well equipped, like I mentioned with Jameson Williams. You reminded me of Josh Reynolds. They have a two-headed monster in the backfield. They have, I'll say they have the better offensive line in this game. So they have plenty of weapons, and they have a great OC and Ben Johnson. Jared Goff is still a very good quarterback. So I'm gonna say it's gonna be a full strength matchup, and I know it sucks having not Sam Laporta, uh, but he might not be there. But putting that aside, I'm gonna take the Rams here, just because they're very even teams when you really get down to it. Even with Sam Laporta or not, they have a lot of playmakers. Like we always kind of overlook Tyler Higbee, but he's still a quality playmaker. You got Cooper Cup, who looks a little slower this year, maybe dealing with injuries, but he's still capable of getting 100 receiving yards. Puka Nakua is a star, as we know. You still got Tutu Atwell. You still got Demarcus Robinson. So each side is very loaded. Uh, and then defensively, they both got similar problems, like we mentioned. They both got kicker problems. But the Lions have the benefit of being at home. They just haven't done it in 30 years for a playoff game. So I will lean on the Super Bowl experience of Stafford, Donald, Cup, and the head coach and Sean McVay. So I'm going to go with a shootout, 33-30. LA Rams win and they move on, but it's not gonna. I know somebody says it's gonna be a blowout. I do not see a blowout. It's gonna be a very, very close game. It might come down to a fourth down from the Lions and Dan Campbell. It could come down to a kicker. It could come down to a punt return in the overtime. It's gonna be a game. You're gonna be sweating. You're gonna be nervous for 4 quarters, maybe 5 with overtime. So give me the Rams 33-30 over the Detroit Lions.
And for those who are watching who haven't been around this whole season, Gilbert hasn't picked the Rams a lot this season. It wasn't until once he saw Kyren Williams kind of get hot and he saw the difference. That's when he started picking. He didn't pick them against the Ravens, so for him to be picking the Rams here tells you a lot. So it's not one of those things where he's being a homer, because he's not. He's a reporter for Sports Illustrated. So that is huge. Let me give you a lot of these. We got hit up with comments, so let me give you those before I
Yeah, a
give
lot
you
of
my
scores
prediction.
coming in.
Yeah, we got Extreme Shaft first home game in 30 years for Stafford's not getting a cakewalk. We certainly agree with that. It's going to be a ruckus crowd. We know what is waiting for the Rams in Detroit, and when it comes to going into Fort Field. Here we go. Michael Armenta, Rams 34, Lions 28. We have BC saying Stafford's going to throw for
Whoa.
400 yards, 4 touchdowns through 3 quarters.
Wow. Just
Wow, that is some
yeah.
confidence there.
Yeah.
We got Rams. PTN says 35-27 Rams. We got All Good Things saying 31-28 Rams. I like his score because it's closer to my prediction. All right, Stream Shaft says 42-27
Oh,
Lions. So
jeez.
he's a Lions fan. It says Extreme Shaft 12 men wins it for the Lions. So he's saying that the crowd's going to give them the win there.
It's a
Deborah
factor.
Salgado says Rams 29-17. BC says Rams 41-24. Uh, BC says Stafford rest the fourth quarter huge. So we're gonna get some Carson
Yeah.
Wentz in this
They couldn't
game.
even rest in the Giants game. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. He says it's basically a bye week.
Wow.
Wow, look at that. We're getting this in here. LA Rams 555. Rams will pressure Goff all game and make it uncomfortable for him. Rams 27, Lions 24. We have the Worm. Hey, Worm, good to
What's
see
up,
you.
Worm?
We were waiting to see when we were going to hear from you. I
Yeah,
predict
so where's
Campbell will
that?
call at least one trick play, a fake punt, and an onside kick. So yeah, I mean that's a good one there. BC says key will be Kyren. If he averages 4+ yards per carry, Stafford will have a huge game. So let me get to my predictions as more. Here we go. We got more. G's Nut says Rams 32-17. So as you kind of broke down why you're picking the Rams here and you gave your score, I'm with you. You have a Lions team who's coming into the playoffs for the first time. As we talked about, they don't have a lot of playoff experience. I don't know what to expect from Dan Campbell. He might throw the kitchen sink at the Rams and see what sticks out there. I just think that what Sean McVay has done with this Rams team the last 8 weeks, they've gone 7-1 now. He's been able to make those adjustments, and we've seen, yeah, like I think my only worry, as we've talked about, is special teams. If you leave special teams out of this and you're able to not have any special team problems, then I like the Rams winning this game and I like them to win it in a close game. I'm with you. I like it 31-27. I just think that these are two high power offenses. I just think that the Rams are better suited. They've gone on the road before. We saw them stay with the Ravens, I really like what I saw. If that's your only loss, the Ravens have been destroying teams left and right, Gilbert, whether it's been the 49ers, the Dolphins, the Lions early in the season, even what they did to the Dolphins just recently as well. I
Seahawks.
mean, that just the Seahawks as well. So I really like what this Rams how they're playing right now, and that's what it is. It's how you're playing right now we've seen the Eagles, the Cowboys, they've all stumbled as we gotten into the playoffs. The Rams have gotten hot at the right time and they're playing good football going into the playoffs. And so that's the reason I'm going with the Rams here.
Yeah, and another factor, like again, these teams really resemble each other. Is like, they're a lot of them are pretty new to the postseason play. When we're focusing on the young guys from the Rams, but same thing with the Lions. Amon Ra is brand new here. Jameer Gibbs, Dave Montgomery played on a bad Bears team. I don't think he went to the playoffs. Uh, but Jared Goff also has a Super Bowl experience. He's kind of like Matthew Stafford. He has that experience. But so maybe my comparison right now won't doesn't really fit. But the Lions kind of a bit remind me uh when the Rams had their first playoff game with Sean McVay at the Coliseum. I actually covered that game for the Las Vegas Review Journal, and the Atlanta Falcons came to town with Matt Ryan, and they just went to, or maybe they went to the Super Bowl the year before and they blew the Super Bowl. But they came to the Coliseum, facing the new Rams, explosive offense, and they beat them. They had the more experience, and the Rams and Jared Goff learned from it. So the Lions kind of maybe feel like that a little bit. They're going to be at home, a lot of pressure, a new environment, but they do have Jared Goff. And me, that could go a long way. But you know, I'm not going to sit here and try to tell people why the Rams are going to win and convince them. I think it's going to be a close game, but it's just what I'm feeling right now. And same thing for you, Vic.
Yeah, let me get to these comments. I'm with you. I really like this question. This was a question that I had planned for Kirk Morrison, and it says, "Can you guys see any possible RPO plays for Wentz for some fourth and wide type scenarios?" And after seeing Carson Wentz get 17 carries last week, I wanted to ask Kirk Morrison about this because are we going to see some packages with Carson Wentz where if they're in third and one, fourth and one, does he come in for some, either whatever they want to call it, the Rams push, where they try to get Carson Wentz to get that first down. So that'll be something to look forward to, Gilbert.
Yeah, I don't know if they do it because, again, they're all about the pre-snap motions and confusing you. You don't know who's gonna get the ball. So I think they have something going anyways. But I guess if you feel strongly about a quarterback sneak and you don't want to risk your quarterback, go ahead and do it. But I seen Puka get a jet sweep. I seen Tuta will get a jet sweep, and you need a fourth and one. How about give it to Kyren Williams? He could get it. things like that. So I don't know. I think they have too many options. Why mess with what you have going? But then again, it's not a good. I mean, it's not a bad thing to have just in case.
Yeah, just to throw something at Dan Campbell as well. I mean, hey, we got, you can, if you're McVay, you're saying, hey, we got some stuff working out here too. We can throw in some wrinkles. The Worm says horns up, Compas. Rams 34, Lions 31. So he's got a close game. And then BC says punt it out of bounds. We're with you there. Just punt the ball. Don't let them return it. Delbert Sargato says heavy security at Rams Hotel so Lions fans don't put the fire alarm. I think they're gonna show up on Sunday. I would be my guess, but maybe they show up on Saturday, Gilbert. We'll see.
Yeah.
If I'm the Rams, I'm saying they show up on Saturday morning. I just don't think you need to be out there early. I mean, there's no, like, if you were playing in Denver or something, you show up early, but I think they might show up the day of. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they show up on Saturday, but that's a good thing to keep an eye on. It says problem solved. It's been a punt returns, not the kickoff returns. True, that is true. Rams RPTN says, do the Rams use Wentz and QB6 on a 4th and 1? So that goes to what we just talked about. The Worm is going to be ungodly loud for all fourth quarters. It will be.
Is
BC
a
said,
Worm from Milwaukee? I think he is,
yes,
right?
he's the one that's from Milwaukee.
I wonder if the Worm or anybody else going to be making the trip to Detroit. That'd be a fun game to go to.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Worm, if you're gonna, are you making it out to Detroit? That would be something for you to let us know about. Wentz is a secret red zone weapon. Yep,
Man,
it
people really
says.
want to see that. I don't know why, but
Yeah, see, there you go, Gilbert. I'm telling you, man.
no,
Yeah, Detroit versus area. So we got some Lion fans in here. Wentz is a battering ram. Killa says Don Burr, how the F do you get here?
what?
Don Burr. So it's a Lions fan. They're talking about Don Burr. When's
Oh,
gonna get broken in half?
oh, they're all finding us. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, welcome.
There you
We
go.
encourage
BC with
everybody
some
to support
stats
us.
here too. Detroit 1-12 in the playoffs all time. No other franchises below third. Well, to their credit, they haven't. I mean, they haven't been in the playoffs. I mean, they haven't
Yeah.
been there in 30 years. So give them some credit there. Delver, a good show, gentlemen. Go
Thank you,
Rams.
Gilbert.
Stafford 4 has more playoff wins than Detroit and Larry. So yeah, that's uh Wentz is a big dude. He will not be broken in half. So uh you know, let me get to all these comment. Wentz is a walking injury report.
Why are we
BC,
talking about Wentz? It's
they're gonna
Stafford.
run Wentz like a rental car. All good things says good thing he will not be playing a whole game then, right? Yep. It's BC says he can have this Tebow jump ball goal line TD like in that a championship game versus Florida. He says the Worm says working on it. Got a buddy in Detroit. Tickets are through the roof. Yes.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
did see this, Gilbert. To get into the building is super expensive. So like they said, Detroit Lions fans have waited 30 years to see their team get in the playoffs. So tickets, it's tough to get that ticket. We got one more comment here before we go. I want to see some more Michael Hoyt and Byron Young in the backfield.
Yeah.
We need that pressure on Goff. So there you go, Gilbert. But it's great. Everybody's chiming in. There's a big snowstorm coming on Friday too. So there's also that with driving situation, trying to get to Detroit, Gilbert. So, but in terms of the, I'm just happy to see all these comments. It's been awesome to be able to be on this show, Gilbert. I mean, it's been a whole season. Whether the Rams advance or not, I mean, we'll be here. We'll either have a recap show, we'll have a post game show for sure. But then, if the season ends on Sunday, then we'll have your end of the season, I guess, show next week. Otherwise, we'll have a preview show if it's against the 49ers. I just want to say thank you to all the subscribers. I mean, that video with Kirk Morrison has been doing great. We appreciate the love to everybody who's been, hitting up the comments here. They're still continuing to, chime in. So I love that, Gilbert. It's been awesome. So I
Yeah.
mean, to think we started this because you were covering the Rams. now you're not. Now you're a reporter for Sports Illustrated. I was producing Compas on the Beat. You asked me to come on here, and now I'm the one doing Rams talk here. So it's been awesome to see the growth of this House of Horns community. So shout out to all the viewers and listeners.
Yeah, and I like that we're just being ourselves. I know nowadays people like to scream on ESPN or whatever. I'm not trying to take shots at other people, but we're kind of we'll just kind of do our own thing and see if people like it. And people have been liking it. They like the dialogue, and we like to give back and make sure everybody's included. Like there's times I need a break to stop talking. I don't want to be like a know-it-all. So when I see the comments coming in, and it's not just hey ask us questions, more like hey I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear what people are saying. I think people like that approach and to your credit, Victor, you're getting all the comments in there to get people's voices heard, and it's cool to see even Lions fans coming in. Yeah, there might be little fights in the chat, but that's okay. Like, you know, our main channel, Compas on the Beat, it's all NFL. So if you want to have a little bit of everything, check out Compas on the Beat. But here it's all about the Rams, and it's okay to kind of have some opposing fans every now and then. Not a problem, but I love the support. I love the chat. And I like to see the subscribers go up. And we're trying to give away a Puka Nakua jersey to get to 1,000. And I know we'll get there soon. To see the video of Kirk Morrison do well with the views is pretty awesome. If the Rams win win a playoff game, I got to get another interview guest to come on. So
We
that'll be
might need to get two for next week, but
that'll be big time.
if that happens, we'll get there if that happens. But I just want to say, like, once again, Gilbert, to your point, I mean, honestly, like, this isn't possible without you. Like, we started this about a year and a half ago, and now we're doing this. And honestly, too, credit to the Rams. I mean, not a lot was expected of this team, and for them to be in position to advance in a wild card round against the Lions. And like I said, our thing is we're sports fans. We like having these conversations, and so that's why I try to get the comments in here, because I'm a football fan. I want conversation. I want to be able to have these conversations with our viewers and listeners, because I know how hard a lot of other channels are about not having that engagement. So I welcome this, and shout out
Yeah.
to the Worm, all the people, Daniel Calderon, who's always on our post games. There's been people on here who have been there from day one, but even all the new subscribers, all good things has been on here for a couple weeks now. You have Salgado, what's his I'm trying to Delberg Salgado. I mean, we've had a lot of people on here, and it's been good to see. And it's like the comments just keep rolling in. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate that,
Yeah,
Gilbert.
and the Worm, you're not late. Playoff season, I got you locked in. Do not worry about that. And it's funny how we're all here, like kind of getting all emotional. They're fighting in the chat. Lions and Rams fan. It's pretty funny to see. Keep the comments going. It's okay, but make sure to subscribe. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel. And I'll do one more promo before we get out of here. If you like the House of Horns content, and obviously liking, being in the chat, subscribing goes a long way. But you want to help out a little more. We're trying to get to Super Bowl Radio Row. Compas on the Beat has gotten to Super Bowl Radio Row the last 2 years. LA Super Bowl, Phoenix Super Bowl. Now we're trying to get there one more time. Las Vegas, but we know from experience it costs a lot of money when it comes to housing and equipment and doing content in person, getting a couple guests too. But if you want to help out, check out the links in the description. We have a PayPal link for donations. You want to support us through the live chat, a super sticker, super like, super whatever also goes a long way. And then if you want some cool Compas on the Beat merch, like a hoodie, check out our website, certifiedcompas.shop. Also, the link is in the description and in that banner right there. Eventually, we got to get some House of Horns merch. So hopefully, we'll have that soon, House of Horns merchandise, and get people to buy that too. But if you want to support, there's a couple ways to do it. Like I listed, check out the links in the description. But just being in the chat, talking to us, supporting us definitely goes a long way.
Yeah, and then Easy E wants to know, where are you guys watching the game? I gotta watch it, Ramon, because I gotta get everything ready for the post game show. Whether they win, it's gonna be a late night for us. Gilbert, you're doing stuff for Sports Illustrated. I'm gonna be covering the game in terms of getting everything ready for the post game show. So we'll be on post game show. Join
Yeah.
us. We usually it takes us about what 30 minutes after the game is over. Well, oh, there you go. We got the worm
The
dropping another
worm,
20
man.
bucks. Look at that. That's
You're
awesome.
man, you're awesome, man.
Yeah,
We love it, man. Appreciate it. So,
yeah.
the worm, he says, get some more Modelo. I love it. He's
There
already
we
like we're out here being picky with the beer. He's like, I don't care. I'll give you guys more money because last time we said get Pacifico, and we're like, we want Modelo because we're spoiled like that. Not just kidding.
yeah.
But the worm, we really appreciate that. That means a lot. We really appreciate it, and hopefully you get to Detroit. If not, I don't blame you because that weather out there is not looking good.
Yeah, and especially with the middle of the country, they're supposed to have some really bad weather. It's going to get worse and worse. So luckily, this game is indoors, and so we're in for a high scoring game, a high scoring matchup. We have some, the storylines are there. They're we know what they are now. We've gone, through them, Gilbert. But now let's get ready to watch this game on Sunday Night Football. It'll be the third primetime game of the season for the Rams. So now the national spotlight is once again on the Rams. And so I can't wait for Sunday. I think, hopefully, one of the things you've mentioned is that a lot of these matchups have been hyped up, haven't lived up to it. Hopefully this one does.
Hey, the Rams delivered when they became Ravens Rams, so I think they're going to do it again. Or maybe Rams fans don't want them to deliver because they want a blowout. I remember Rams PTN was saying, you know what, it might be a blowout. Then he comes back and it says it should be a 4-point game. So people are going back and forth with this game here. I love to see all the comments coming in. Henry, shout out to you. I see your name pretty often. And yeah, you got to protect Stafford. It's going to be hard for Detroit.
Look at
Uh,
BC. He played with Stafford against. I'm guessing I played against Stafford and Kershaw in high school. So
Yeah, they were
that's
teammates in high school, right?
you're right.
Stafford and Kershaw, but
Yeah,
BC, that was when, yeah, Kershaw was a center. No, I forget. Was he?
Kershaw was the center.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just kind of wild to think.
yeah. And I
But
think
that's
and I think
awesome.
Stafford was the catcher for him, something like
Oh
that.
yeah, there was something. Yeah, the other way around. They helped out. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So there you go. I mean,
Thank you, the
Kershaw was
worm.
on the O line. There you go. And then
Nope,
and then yeah, and I think Fernando brought up a great point about
not on
why the
Peacock.
game the Chiefs and the Dolphins are on Peacock, and that might have to do with getting the Swifties to subscribe to Peacock. So
Pretty
that was a
smart.
great point by him, and yeah, I started to see it after he mentioned that. I started to see some other people going with that as well. But yeah, it's cool to see that as well. Look at that. BC just keeps giving us the stats here. There we go. Says I was at Wiley High School. He was at Highland. Yeah, I know they went to Highland Park because of Kershaw, and he might be going back to Texas to pitch for the Rangers this year. And then we have Henry Camacho, who's another one who's been rolling with us this season. The secondary will play well, and they are very underrated. And then Easy take Aiden Hutchinson out of the game and let Stafford cook these kitty cats.
I like that picture, by the way. Is it Professor Hoiberg from Futurama?
It looks like it, right?
Mhm.
With some Pancho Villa there.
Yeah,
Um, so there we go. We have more comments here. JB, BC, it's only SoFi South.
no,
uh, Ramsey is in the Ravens D. So we'll see. We'll see.
that's true.
And then Henry Camacho, Duke Shelley is back, so he's going to be a very important addition to that secondary. So, but Gilbert, we almost did 2 hours. It's been awesome to see people just with their comments. You told me, hey, let's do this at 5:30. I said, let's wait till 6 because I feel like we get more traffic after 6, and here we are. We've had so much activity here. We were able to get this preview in. And now we wait for the game on Sunday night. I'm sure a lot of people are like, hey, why isn't it on Saturday? But here we are. We're going to get a great game. And like I said, we'll be on post game show. Make sure to check us out. We'll be on. If the game ends around 9, we'll be on at around 9:30. So come back, join us, and can't wait to discuss this game on Sunday, Gilbert.
Yeah, I was trying to be mindful of our East Coast people, our Midwest people, like the worm. Like, hey, you know what? 5:30, get it going a little earlier, but the worm came late, so but it's all good. Much love, but yeah, maybe 6 p.m. should be our time for these previews. And you know what? If they win another game, regardless, we'll be back on Wednesday for like a exit kind of show or a divisional round. matchup. But let's hope it's a divisional round matchup. But hey, these comments keep coming in. Extreme is taking
Yeah, he's a
receipts.
Lions fan. He says
Yeah,
he's gonna check out the postgame show. So, hey, I can't wait for that. I mean, win or lose, we'll be on and we'll break down this matchup.
but yeah, no, we love to see all these comments, and everybody's welcome back, Lions fans, also too. But we'll be back on Sunday night and break down this matchup. But yeah, again, if you can help us out by getting some merch, link in the description, certifiedcompas.shop, or just do what the worm does. Just give us all your money. But no, we're kidding. But again, this is all pretty awesome to see, and yeah, we've been here for almost 2 hours, and people keep coming in and flooding the chat, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome to see, honestly. Like, I keep saying, like, I wasn't expecting this, but it's all to the play of the Rams. Honestly, we wouldn't be in this position. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, so shout out to everybody who keeps, subscribing. They like the content that we're providing. And now, Gilbert, if the Rams win, you got to follow up with two interviews next of two people to get for interview.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, but
That'd be a
uh,
tough challenge, but I would not
yeah,
mind it.
yeah. So there we go. All right, Gilbert. Let's move on to this matchup now, and we'll let people continue to send in their comments, as we sign off.
Yeah, no, this is a great show. It's gonna be an epic game. I can't wait for. We were all waiting for this. Lions versus Rams. Shout out to Carson Wentz one more time to give us this game here, running into the end zone for the go-ahead touchdown to set up Stafford return, Goff revenge game. So many freaking storylines, and that's why we spent 2 hours covering it all here. So again, from Victor to myself, everybody at Compas on the beat, we love the support. Thank you to everybody. We'll check back in on Sunday. You haven't checked out the Kurt Morrison interview video, check that out on the channel. But best of luck to the Lions fans as well. But we'll see how it turns out on Sunday Night Football. I want a great game, and I want people to be very pumped up, win or lose, in the chat Sunday night. Hopefully, it's good news for the Rams, but we'll see. But on that note, ya nos vamos. Pues vámonos.